Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Chris Weidenbar, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Officer Cadet Sarah Welsh. We are honoured to acknowledge Mr. Timothy K. Bridges, Assistant Deputy Chief of Staff for Logistics, Engineering and Force Protection, Headquarters, United States Air Force, Washington, D.C., Air Commodore Martin Smith, Director General Logistics, Royal Australian Air Force, and the accompanying delegation. We are also honoured to welcome the Australian Forces Command Soldier of the Year contingent who are joining us this evening. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial and by students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, Zigzag Public School, Lithgow. From Queensland, Our Lady of the Southern Cross College, Dalby. And from Western Australia, Perth Modern Senior High School, Subiaco. I ask you all please to stand for the National Anthem. Thank you. Students, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway lands. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Sylvester William James McLaughlan. Sylvester McLaughlan, known as Willie, was born in McLaughlan, New South Wales in 1897. He attended the Lithgow Public School and went on to work in the local ironworks while still a teenager. McLaughlan enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in June 1915. He underwent a period of training in Australia before embarking for active service overseas on board the troop ship Euripides on the 2nd of November of the same year. He first went to Egypt, joining the 19th Battalion, before being sent to fight on the Western Front in France. In late July 1916, the 19th Battalion moved into forward positions near the French village of Pozières, which had been captured by the 1st Australian Division days before. On the 30th of July, Private McLaughlan was taking the chance to get some sleep in a spot with his best mate, Private Wright, and another man. An artillery shell burst nearby, killing McLaughlan and the other man instantly. Private Wright survived, although, as he later wrote, he was knocked about a good deal. Private Wright wrote to McLaughlan's mother, saying, "I find it in my duty to write to you concerning your son's death, which came as a great shock to me. If ever had a lad did his duty well, it was Willie." McLaughlan's comrades ensured he was given a proper burial and a cross was erected over his grave. After the war, he was moved to Pozières British Cemetery, where he lies today under the words, "Too dearly loved, ever to be forgotten." Sylvester McLaughlan was 19 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Sylvester William James McLaughlan, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.